Okay, so the fallout from the LeBron James Stephen A. Smith saga has ruined the reputation of quite a lot of people in the industry, or at least questioned their integrity, such as Stephen A. Smith and Brian Windhorst. However, one person who is receiving a lot of flack lately for their coverage in the saga is Kendrick Perkins when he said this on ESPN.
My last thing, and I'm glad y'all brought up the Mind the Game podcast. And the one thing I will say, sharing the locker room with LeBron James, being LeBron James' teammate, being in McDonald's All-American, all that, he is one of the brightest basketball minds I've ever been around. Okay, you lose JJ Redick, and then you go out and get Steve Nash. I would never question Steve Nash IQ or his intelligence when it comes down to the game of basketball. But Richard Jefferson just got hired as on our A team to cover the NBA Finals. He's smart as hell. Shannon Fry, who won the championship with LeBron James, who does NBA TV, he's intelligent as hell. Phil Handy, who LeBron James won 2 championships with, who's now doing his own thing, he's intelligent as hell. Hell, Draymond Green. Well, I know Draymond Green ruffled the feathers, but no one could ever question his basketball mind or his basketball IQ. He's smart as hell. So what I'm getting at is, why none of those guys, LeBron? These are your guys. Why none of those guys are on Mind the Game? And I'll leave it at that.
And so will I.
So Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye actually checked Kendrick Perkins for this take, and I'm going to play you that clip towards the end of this video. Okay, but you see what Perk did there? He spoke about the issue with LeBron choosing to do a podcast with Steve Nash after he lost JJ Redick, while addressing the fact that there are other great potential candidates he could have chosen to partner up with the likes of Draymond Green, Channing Frye, and Richard Jefferson. Basically, he's referring to black men and the fact that LeBron chose a white man over all of them, which Stephen A. Smith also agreed to at the end of that segment. Now just imagine how appalled these two men were at the fact that LeBron also chose to do this huge interview with Pat McAfee instead of another black man. I'm sure neither could have wrapped their heads around that decision. In any event, many people called out Perkins for that blatant racism he showed on TV, but this isn't anything new from the ESPN broadcaster. A little over a year ago, he also got checked by JJ Redick on First Take for a racist comment when he said that white NBA voters were being racist for selecting Jokic as the MVP. Here's that clip.
I want to just say something. Stephen A., I mean no offense to you, and I mean no offense to First Take, because I think this show is extremely valuable. It is an honor to be on this desk every day. It really is. But what we've just witnessed is the problem with this show, where we create narratives that do not exist in reality. The implication, what you are implying, that the white voters that vote on NBA are racist, that they favor white people. You just said that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That is exactly what you implied, Kendrick Perkins. That is exactly what you implied. Secondly, hold on.
I did not call. I stated the facts. And you're not about to sit up.
We all know what you implied the other day. We all know what you implied just now. Hold on.
I stated
one at a time.
It's the facts.
One at a time.
It's the facts. It's the facts.
Okay.
So yeah, Perkins got trashed for that take where he said white voters were favoring white players, but when you look at the history of the NBA MVP award, it's been predominantly black players who have won that award, to no surprise. Anyways, the other day, Kendrick Perkins went on Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye's podcast and got checked once again for his race-baiting comment. And you just have to see how this blows all over in the face of Kendrick Perkins.
Phil Handy, you won 2 championships with. Draymond Green is your boy, high IQ.
I mean, okay. You did.
One of those? Hold on. Anyone?
Okay, I'll let you finish.
Any one of those guys are suitable to sit across the table from you and actually talk X's and O's of minding the game? That's all I ask.
I like Steve.
No.
Steve's my guy, though. So.
No, okay, so let me say this about who LeBron chose to sit next to. LeBron has been on this podcast multiple times, 5 times. He sat with us after they won the 2020 championship, right? He sat with us and did an in-studio interview. Go check it out. Millions of views. Great time. He sat with us.
Millions.
He started a podcast company that Draymond signed to. And I think this is the part. I hear you that people want his interview and that there's whoever gets it is a winner of the LeBron James sweepstakes. But we don't, in my opinion, we don't get to pick and choose. It's like, well, you could have gone here. And I know that what the undertone is of, oh, well, why would you lift up that platform and this person supported you? Yes, but he's also supported people along this line, including this podcast, multiple times. We helped launch The First Dance. We were on this podcast, and Bron said, man, if ESPN, they got to release that thing early. They used it in the promo for The Last Dance. They used this podcast audio clip. I say that to say is that he has supported and been there. So when we start picking and choosing, like they was talking about on the Gilbert Arenas podcast, when you start picking and choosing who he has to give his platform to at what time and what platform, yes, we're all going to want to win that. But if he chooses for a reason, then let's look at the history still. He has helped lift up a ton of other podcasts. He has done other things. That's just true. I was there when him and JJ were talking about Mind the Game and how that got created. JJ's idea, bringing it to him. We're going to fault JJ for that? So I look at this whole situation about who he gave that interview to as people just, again, picking and choosing. Because if you look at the history, he launched this podcast, was on it multiple times. He launched the podcast company that Draymond Green was signed to and JJ Redick was signed to at one time. So we can't sit here and say, well, I think he should have given it to this person to lift up. He's been lifting up platforms.
We like listening to you, fucker. I do want to clarify, and I do have a question with this because I feel like there was two things.